Hello, and welcome back to the Just Follow Joy podcast. My name is Ariana Joy. I'm your host, and I'm a human design reader and teacher. And today we are continuing our conversation with the lovely human design fairy godmother, Eden Carpenter. So, we are diving directly into the rest of the conversation, and we're going to cover the rest of the centers, defined and undefined, and how you can align with yours for some really magical business growth according to your design. If you haven't listened to episode 1 yet, definitely do that. There's a lot that we cover in that and in this too, which is why I split it up into 2 episodes. But definitely go check that out first. I highly recommend it because we're jumping straight in. And with that said, let's jump straight in and hear from Eden. I'd love to talk about the emotional solar plexus because I have that undefined and you have that defined.
Yes. So this is where this is a big manifestation thing as well, where people say, what are the feelings of having the thing? Like if I handed you a check with $10,000, like right now, how would you feel? And defined emotional centers can do that. I can project feelings. So I do something called embodiment walks where I have to walk my dogs pretty much every day. And so every once in a while, I'll do it with like just really fun music and I will pretend that I just experienced like the goal that I wanted to hit. Like it just happened. I just crossed the line. I just checked it off and I'm just walking. And I'm like, okay, I'm probably bouncing a little bit more. And like, how do I feel having that just done? And so I play with that. And I also talk a lot about like my emotional processing, how I moved through something, how it felt. Like that's something that I'm really able to share with other people and impact them. How I feel comes across a lot stronger than what I'm saying. So if I'm not happy about something, it's all over my face, it's all in my voice. You can hear it, it's everywhere. You can feel that I am not saying something like, okay, you're not saying something, please just say it. Like, just get it out in the open. And then with the undefined emotional center, that projection of emotion might feel difficult, where it's like, what does it feel like to have the thing? It doesn't matter because your emotions are neutral. They're like they're different. They're not this consistent process. It's not something you generate. It's something that you source from your environment. So you're not going to know what it feels like until it gets there. But also, like it could feel like anything when it gets there. And so you don't have to know like what does it feel like. You just get to feel into, okay, what do I feel like right now? And so that's again like you can play with how do you feel right now? And like what if you just felt exactly the same, you just had the goal? Like it could feel exactly like this. This is the vibration of your desire. This is the frequency. This is the feeling. This is whatever it is of your desire. Like this is what it feels like. It could feel exactly like this. It doesn't have to be something that you generate, something that you create, something that you're all tingly and excited. A lot of times that like big excitement isn't actually good for our nervous system because if we think like, oh, every time I hit this goal, I'm gonna be like so excited, it's gonna feel amazing, I'm gonna be bumping up and down. Like that's nervous system dysregulation because if you don't hit that goal, you're not going to be excited. You're going to be extremely disappointed. And so all of a sudden your emotions are tied to the outcome of the situation. And so for you, you get to go into, is this emotion useful to me right now? Because emotions are energy in motion, and rapid resolution therapy helped me with this so much. Where our bodies will, especially when the mind has labeled something as important, it will reach into our emergency toolbox of emotions to make sure that we have the energy to take action. That's what emotions are. They're energy designed to take action. So your brain will take in data. It's going to see something, it's going to add like this color plus that plant plus this over here, and it's going to tell a story and it's going to say, this is what it means about me. And it says, oh, wait, she has like, this is really important. We need extra energy here. Hey, remember that time where like you did that really bad thing and you felt really guilty? Here's some guilt. You've got all of this activation, all of this emotion. Like now guilt yourself into doing the thing. Or I'm
Mm.
going to shame you into it. Like shame's really strong. These are emergency level energy because your body says like this is a big deal, this is important. Anything we label as important, our brain says life or death. Like, you know what's actually important? Breathing.
I hear.
Breathing's important. Having oxygen, having food, having access to water, those are important things. Genuinely important. And so if you say money is important, your nervous system is going to give you high levels of emotional activation every single time, like life threatening, I need to save myself, I need to get my last breath of air level of emotion and level of energy to get that done. And one of my favorite examples is like, let's say that you're really hungry and a kid comes up and says, here's a candy bar. thanks. Like, yeah, like candy bar is good. That might spike my blood sugar, might like feel okay for right now. If I'm really, really hungry, I might eat the candy bar, but it's not gonna satiate me. It's gonna spike my energy and then I'm gonna crash. And so you say like, no, thank you. And then they come back and like, here's another candy bar. Like, okay, like, thank you. Like, no, thank you. And so your unconscious mind, it's this beautiful little adorable child who just wants you to have the energy to do the things that you want to do. And so it's going to say, hey, that person felt like this. For an undefined emotional center, it'll tend to pull things from like, my husband says, like, what would a normal person feel like? He's often like questioning, he's like, I don't know what a normal person would be feeling right now. Or
I
I think
completely
a
understand
normal
that.
person. Yeah. So you're trying to figure out how should I be feeling right now because somebody told you that you should have an emotional response to things when you're not designed to have an emotional response to them. And so, that kid can give you all these candy bars. If we're out of alignment, you're going to have all of this emotional activity, but if you're super activated, you're not in your higher thinking, you're not in your logic, you're not in your intuition. It's like anger sends blood to the jaw. You could bite really, really hard, but you can't think. Like if the blood is in the jaw, it's not in the higher brain, it's not in the prefrontal cortex. Fear sends blood to the legs. So when like shame like collapses, it kind of does some things to like the chest area. And so if we have these emotions, it's sending blood to certain areas of our body that if we were running away from a tiger or we needed to swim up to the surface and like get our last breath, like if we were in that situation, that would be useful. But when it comes to what do I post online today, we want access to our higher thinking.
Mm.
We want access to that. We don't want to be in a fight or flight mode. So the undefined emotional center, you don't have to feel what a normal person would feel. You don't have to feel what a normal person would feel because no one's normal. Like what even is normal?
Yeah.
Just this is the pattern that we've seen the most. Like but everyone's different. We can't determine exactly what people are feeling. So if you're undefined emotionally, like be open. Be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. I think a normal person might be crying, but I'm not. So whatever. I'm not crying. It doesn't have to mean anything about you. And like if there is nervous system activation, no one's designed to make emotionally charged decisions, emotionally defined or undefined. We're here to come to that calm because the reticular activating system where the emotions are generated, it sends blood elsewhere in your body to give you the energy to take action. And so that's where I know I got into a whole tangent there, but with the undefined emotional center, being open to different feelings and really supporting people and being undetached. I think that like unattachment is such a beautiful thing from undefined emotional centers and like sharing that experience. And then if you are defined emotionally, people like how you feel impacts other people. And so if I don't feel good, if I'm processing something, I'm going to cancel a call. I'm not going to show up for it. If I genuinely am not in the mood, I need to honor my emotions and give myself space because if I'm really deeply processing something, I am over here and in a completely different world and I'm not present with the conversation. And so I
Mm.
have to go move my energy, again, like my responsibility. I have to move my energy in order to be present with the situation. And if you're undefined emotionally, if you're feeling a lot of emotion, is it even yours? Or is it, I think that a normal person would be feeling this in this situation, so therefore I'm going to try and make myself feel that way? Or
Yeah.
is it that person is feeling uncomfortable and you're amplifying it and you can feel that like they're not saying something? And it's like
Mm.
you're picking it up from your environment. So is this emotion useful to you right now? Is this going to fuel the action that you want? Is shaming yourself into posting more often really how you want to be creating it? Or would you like to feel like if you post or you don't post, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything about you, and you don't have to feel anything different. Like that's where you get to be with that emotional neutrality. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. And something that I mean really quickly, because I know, oh my gosh, I could talk about this story with you forever. But one thing that really came up for me was it's funny. I think that for non-emotionals as well, we can feel this responsibility to feel because of that whole thing with manifestation. It's like, well, if you don't like, you gotta have the feeling, right? And that's true, but like that's gonna come organically to you for so long. And it was only recently that I stopped doing this. I was like, no, I have to make sure I am feeling this way. I have to create this feeling, or else the thing I want isn't going to come. I'm not going to have something consistent, an energy that's consistent to depend on in order to manifest. I don't have a defined solar plexus center, and it's not connected to my throat center most of the time. Sometimes during transits, I do become an emotional manifesting generator, and then I have access from the emotion to my throat, and I have that feeling of, I can depend on feeling to help me manifest. But most of the time, I do not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't have to be like thinking about the feeling all the time. Like, it's gonna come to me and I'll know, and that's how you actually effortlessly manifest, is like, well, this is how I feel
Yeah.
now, and this is what I'm focusing on, and this is what I manifest now. But it's not about forcing that at all. And thank you. I think that's probably given so many people so much freedom on this. You don't
Yeah.
have to focus on that.
I can share an example.
Yeah.
My first six-figure month, I was grieving. I had had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy that was very surprising and was not expecting. And then all of a sudden I was recovering from surgery, recovering from emergency surgery and grieving the loss of a baby that I didn't even know I was pregnant with. And I made $162,000 that month. And so I was grieving. I was sad. I didn't want to show up. I was low in emotion. I was angry that this happened in the middle of my launch. Like I was processing all of the things and the money was flowing in. Money coming in is a fact, it's not a feeling. Like
Mm.
abundance is a fact, it's not a feeling. And I think that that's something we really need to play with and notice is that we think that things are going to feel a certain way. I had a client the other day on a call. She says, I technically have financial freedom, but like I just don't feel like I do.
Sorry, I think there was an earthquake. That really scared me.
Oh
Sorry,
no.
go on. Okay, yeah. Okay, so she had financial freedom, but she didn't feel like she did. I was
Yeah.
like, I felt like a cat.
I was like, is it,
What?
you're good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's like, I technically have it, but like I don't feel like I'm financially free. And she's undefined emotionally. And I told her, your financial freedom is a fact. It's not a feeling. And with this financial freedom, you can feel anything. You can have good days, you can have bad days, you can have days where you don't want to spend money, you can have days where you want to lavishly spend money. It can feel however you want to feel. It doesn't have to feel anything, but it's also a fact. It's not a feeling. And like abundance, we are abundant. That's a fact. It's not a feeling. Like, I don't know what abundance feels like. That's not an emotion. It's a state of being. It's a fact. We are abundant because we are on earth. We have access to human resources. We're abundant in air. We're abundant in sight. We're abundant in energy. We're abundant in vitality. We are abundance. That's a fact. It's not a feeling. And so I've really been loving like where are you trying to turn a fact into a feeling?
Mm. And so for you as emotional, you're just saying that you would know at least like how you would want to feel about having something, but you don't necessarily always, yeah, can attach it to
Yeah.
like the actual
I'll
outcome.
play with like so once that goal happens, I'm going to emotionally process it.
Hmm.
And so I know that I'm going to be emotionally processing things. So I'll play with it. Like if that goal had happened, how would I be emotionally processing it? Be like, oh wow,
Mm.
like that person came in, like this is super exciting. And like, okay, I didn't feel great about that. And I will be emotionally processing it. So that is me like jumping timelines and saying,
Yeah.
like me moving energy, that will be energy that moves through me. And also I get to make space for like if there's something else in my environment that's going on, I will be emotionally processing that regardless of what else is going on. And so, like, I can't say for sure that that's the only thing that's going to be going on in my life that I'm going to be
Mm.
emotionally feeling into. Looking back, I did celebrate the success and I did celebrate the launch. And like, I ended up going to Hawaii with like my family for a while, and like they were like restationing and moving, and so like we hung out on a beach and it was really amazing and got to send my niece to go like swim with dolphins for her birthday. And I'm like, okay, I'll babysit the two kids, parents, and you go like go swim with dolphins for your birthday. And so like I got to celebrate, but at the same time, like I thought I'd be like, yay, oh my God, like this is so good, and like all of the things and posting all the stories. And in reality, I was also grieving my emotions. So in that moment, yeah, the money came in. That was a fact. And I was still doing my responsibility, which is processing the emotions that are present. And
Hmm.
so the practicing, like that embodiment, is really just me saying, regardless of what emotions come through, I am responsible for it and I will process it. And so if I want to be playing with it, be like, okay, what would that feel like? How would I be processing that? Like, how would I be feeling through this? And I can play with that as like a game of just like activating my energy and moving it. But I also can't necessarily predict that that's what's going to happen.
I
Hmm.
love that distinction. Thank you. That helps me understand a lot, and I
Yeah.
think it'll definitely help you with defined emotional centers, um, for sure. So, okay, you have a defined heart center, and I don't. I'd love to hear your take on the undefined heart center, but also the defined heart center because that's what you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I have a defined ego center, and it's really fun because the 4037 channel is my unconscious sun and earth. So like my incarnation cross is two channels. It's the only incarnation cross in the entire body graph that like makes up two channels. So like this is a really important channel in my body graph. It's my decision making channel. I love talking about the ego center. So when you have a defined ego center, you create your own definitions of what is valuable and what is not valuable. And so certain things are valuable to me, like certain things are not valuable to me, like my nursing degree that I spent 5 years working towards and 6 weeks actually being a nurse. And I had to spend $4,000 to get out of the contract and actually quit my job.
Oh my
But that
God.
was worth it to me. That was worth it to me. The student loans, paying to get out of my contract, that was worth it to me for the freedom. And so for me, like I see the value in that, amazing. You're going to have a really hard time convincing me to see value in something that I don't see value in.
Mhm.
Like if I don't see the value in it, you are not going to be able to convince me to change my mind. And so this is like salespeople. If I do not see the value in the program, you're not going to change my mind. And you are not going to sway me into saying like, oh, well, the value of like the extended warranty. No, I don't see the value in it. You're not going to change my mind. And so there is this like egoic energy around what has value, what doesn't have value. And so it's really important to also notice that this deals with like bargains and it deals with promises and things that you're promising to do. And so I'm very clear around if I'm promising something, if I say, I will do this, and like that's a very powerful statement if you have a defined ego is I will get this done. I will get this done by this day. If I make a set promise like that, people get mad if I break it, like really
Mhm.
mad. Even if, like, when I had the ruptured ectopic pregnancy, I had to push back content. I'm like, I'm physically recovering, I'm on pain medication, like, I can't record content. And I had somebody who got very mad that I had to take a month off from creating content for the program because she said, well, I was waiting for that module so that I could add it to like add some of that content to like this course and launch it. I'm like, well, that kind of sounds like plagiarism. Um,
How dare you get sick so I couldn't steal your content, you bitch.
yeah. Yeah, and like she also had a defined ego center. And so for her, she's like, I paid for this program. You made this promise, you're breaking it. And she said, like, I had surgery for, she'd had a surgery for endometriosis. And she's like, I understand. Like, no, I was 11 weeks pregnant with a ruptured ectopic pregnancy and I'd been bleeding internally for 8 days. Like, not the same thing. I had emergency surgery
But like
where they
Eden, be
said,
reasonable.
yeah, yeah, but like, no.
Yeah,
Right.
gosh.
So yeah, if I don't see the value in it, it's not valuable. And so this is also for like behind my pricing. I had a program that people told me I needed to like quadruple the price of, and I did. And I spent the entire time running that program feeling like there was like nothing I could do to make it good enough. I was like, unless every single person has made back their entire investment by the time we finish this program through applying what I am teaching, I'm not doing a good enough job. And I poured all of my energy into that, and people were disappointed. They're like, hey, I thought I was going to get more from this. And I was like, I was literally over delivering in all of the ways. And you could feel, you amplified that I didn't feel like I was giving enough value. And so even though I had millionaires and seven-figure business owners and all of these very high-level people who'd gone through my certification say, you have to like quadruple the price of this. There's no way that you can be charging this anymore. This is insanely valuable. I didn't see the value. And therefore, even though like my story was, why do I not see the value? Like everyone else sees it, it's so valuable. Like what's wrong with me? Why is my self-worth so low? And so I was blaming myself. I'm like, I have a defined ego. I'm supposed to like feel better. But for me, it's like I have an internal compass of like, this has value, this doesn't have value, this feels like it's an equal exchange, this doesn't feel like it's an equal exchange. And so for me, it's a lot about like fairness and balance. And so it did not feel balanced, even though other people can see like a program that's being worth that much. I came from poverty. I have seven siblings, like seven biological siblings. My parents divorced when I was 13. I watched them go through bankruptcy, divorce, foreclosure on a home, living on food stamps with a single mom and eight kids. Like I've that's where I grew up. And so if I see programs that are like five figures for a 6 month program or something like that, it brings me back to like that child who knows that like $10,000 or something like that could be like half a year's worth of income. And so I'm still remembering that, and like that's still a part of me. And it doesn't mean that I'm not seeing the value or I don't have enough value. It's that my values have been created by my environment and by my story and by my experience. And so I'm going to have a specific definition for it. So, with the undefined ego, you get to see how other people value different things. And so you can look at your one program and you can see that the struggling single mom with eight kids is absolutely going to think that that's ridiculously too high priced and that's insane. And you can see that the seven-figure business owner who has been, they've had generational wealth their whole life and they've like never really like looked at credit card bills or anything like that. They're like, oh, $20,000, sure, like send, no big deal. And so you can see the value range. And so what that allows you to do is that allows you to tap into the environment and kind of figure out like, okay, this it's valuable for me. Like this person sees it from this value. This person sees it from this value. This person sees it from this value. And you get to almost come up with your, like you get to borrow those fragments of magic. Is it serving you? Is it useful for you to be mirroring the value of the seven-figure business owner if your intended client is the single mom? And like, where do you want to serve? And so you get to use your environment, you get to use your people, your audience, be like, okay, what do they value? And how can I provide that to them from an energy of service, not like proving your worth, but what is it that they value? And how can I show them that I see their values? So it's much more around like, I see what you see, and I'm not going to try and change your mind. And then also a great quote, and this was I think it's a quote. I saw a post that was like, pretty much worthiness is a fact, not a feeling. You don't wake up feeling 5'2", you just are. It's a fact. And so that's a great one for the undefined ego as well, is like worthiness, first of all, is a made up concept. Like value is a made up concept by humans because a $1 bill and a $100 bill physically are the same thing.
Mm.
One just has two more circles. And so we have all assumed and we have created this internal made up system that the $100 bill is 100 times as valuable, even though physically they are made up of the exact same thing. One just has two more circles. Like that's the difference. And so we've made up value as it is. Like it's a made up concept. It's not real. And so you get to choose like what do you want to value? What do you not want to value? What's interesting to you? What's not interesting to you? And with the undefined ego, you have nothing to prove, but you do get to create evidence of your contribution. And that's one of the things I really love for the undefined ego is instead of saying, how do I prove my worth? I want you to start stacking your contributions. What have you given to society? How are you serving
Mm.
people? Where is the value that you have provided? I want you to stack the external evidence of that, not am I worthy? How do I prove myself? It's not about you. You need it external. And so that is your work, that's your testimonials, that is the body of work that you create. So create evidence of your contribution instead of saying, I have to feel worthy and then maybe I'll be able to share this. Give value first. You see what people are valuing, you see what they want, you can give it to them, you can provide it to them. You can
Mhm.
create evidence of your contribution. And again, that's like sourcing that worthiness from your environment. You're giving, you're maybe you're a generator, you're going to pour your sacral energy in. You've got a defined root center, be ambitious, pour that energy in. And if you have like that undefined ego center, you can play with, okay, wow, like these people said this was valuable. These people said this was valuable. These people loved this. This person loved this. And honestly, I didn't even think that was that big of a deal at all, but they said that was like one of the best parts. And so you receive that feedback of what people saw was valuable. And so this is your sourcing your worthiness from your environment, but it's not searching for external validation. It's allowing your environment to confirm what you already know.
I love that. Yeah, it's funny too because I really don't know what people are going to value until I like put it out there. I'm like, I think this is pretty good. This is my intention is to help with this, but I don't know. Um, and yeah, absolutely. I totally resonate with that and love all of that. And love the way that you said that. Let's talk about the spleen.
The spleen, yes. So the splenic center deals with intuition. This is physical intuition and a sense of health, vitality, and it deals with our fears as well. And so when I think about like fight or flight instincts and our senses and what we're taking in, a lot of that does come from the splenic center. And like fight or flight is also activated in the root center, but I mean, there's three channels connecting those, so there's there's information there. So with the defined splenic center, you have this sense of what is safe for you and what is not for you. And so for me specifically, it goes through the 58 to 18 channel. And so for with that 18, it's about corrections. And so it's also about challenging authority and challenging the systems that are already in place. And so one of the things for me was like, I didn't think it was I was like, human design is a system. Like, I'm not traditionally certified in it. I can't like create a certification. That's like stealing or something. And then I found out that human design is like, no one actually owns human design. That's because it's based off of other systems. And like, I would be safe if I created a certification. There wouldn't be like the fear was, I can't do that. I'm going to go to jail. Like, someone's going to sue me. They'd steal all the money. Like, I'd be publicly humiliated. No, like, not safe. Challenge authority. Someone's going to come and get me. Like,
Yeah.
someone will find out.
Gate 18, I feel like people will come for me with pitchforks if I like do something wrong sometimes. I was actually at a concert, side note, I was at a concert and they told us that we weren't allowed to record the opener, who's Dave Mason. And I saw this woman in front of me who was recording in the front row and I was like, well, fuck it. So I started recording and I feel this like really strong tap on my shoulder and I was like, and the security woman was like, you need to put that away now. And I was like, she's going to kill me. I was like, she's going to kill me today. I'm going to die before even seeing the actual act. But anyway, go on. Yeah. So it's strong with
Yeah.
gate 18 for sure.
It's really strong. And so like I have that fear of like challenging authority, but then that's also like in with the integrity of that gate and the perfection, like things are supposed to evolve over time. And so systems are supposed to change. And just because that worked really well for the past doesn't mean that it's what's best for everyone in the future. And so I was like, okay, like that gave me the courage to take that risk. And so I lean into that splenic center for like sensing what's safe for me and what's not safe for me and things like quitting my nursing job. Very risky. 6 weeks into being a brand new nurse in the middle of the pandemic, all of the things are going on, just graduated. I'm going to quit my job and go be an online business coach. Like, just talk about human design all day. That was massively risky, but everything inside of me felt so much relief from it of like, this is safe. And like, I didn't care. I'm like walking into the hospital. I'm like, I can't be a nurse. I'm sorry to like my nurse manager. And she's like, okay, I just need it in paper. Do you have a backup plan? Like, she was very, very caring. And I just knew that it was the risk that I needed to make. And so with a defined splenic center, you have this sense of trust in yourself when things are safe for you and when they're not for you. And with the undefined center, you can kind of look out at the world and sometimes it's questionable. Like, what does safety feel like? What does safety feel like? And we really don't know because there are many situations where you're just going about your day, da 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 da, and then like there's a car crash or like something happens or a flash flood or an earthquake. Like we can feel completely fine. And yeah, sometimes things might surprise us. But with the undefined splenic center, it can be in this like uneasy state of like waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like something bad might happen, something bad might happen, something bad might happen. And it can be on like high alert for a risk or for a threat. And so it's looking to its environment for like, do you feel safe? Do you feel safe? Like you're not reacting to this. No one's taking this seriously. It's like in this uneasy energy. And so how it works in alignment is you get to use people around you and you get to source your sense of safety from your environment and source your sense of health and intuition and vitality from your environment. And so that might mean if you're around a certain person, I feel like digestion is an interesting thing to bring up here, but I've noticed that some people with an undefined splenic center, they almost question like what does healthy feel like in their body. And so it can show up as like like chronic illnesses where you can't figure out what's going on, you just feel off, something is wrong, and the doctors are like, I'm not sure what's going on, and you're like, something feels wrong. And it's the undefined splenic center because health doesn't necessarily feel a specific way every single time. And so it's also like certain things might be healthy for you at certain times, and then they might not be healthy for you in the future. I'm somebody that like I have been gluten-free since I was 11. I was diagnosed with celiac. I've been gluten-free for 16 years now. And like that's just who I am, and that hasn't changed. I still have reactions if I eat gluten. Like my body says that's not for me, that is not healthy. No, that's been consistent. There are people with an undefined splenic center. My mom has an undefined splenic center, and for a while she really couldn't tolerate gluten. She was like breaking out in rashes, and I was like, that's what I get. And then now she eats gluten. And for a while she went into, I feel really good on a like a vegan diet. We're not doing any like we're not doing any meat. And so she was on a vegan diet for a while, and like that felt really good to her. And then more recently she's like been on a keto diet, and she's done all of these different things because she's got that undefined splenic center. And so it's like searching for what's healthy, what's healthy, what's healthy, what's healthy for me. And so in business, this is about risks. And so one of the things that I think is really important about this undefined splenic center is there is this story in coaching sometimes where it's like you have to burn the boats and make the leap of faith and make the investment, like push yourself, take the leap of faith, and like then that leap of faith is somehow just going to magically make sure that the money appears. And like you have to be investing at your edge and pushing yourself and leading yourself. And I don't think that that's healthy for the undefined splenic centers and root centers. Because with the undefined splenic center, if you're looking to this person and they are confidently saying, of course, this is healthy, this is what I did, you're going to amplify that. You're going to be conditioned by that and be like, okay, if I do that, of course it's going to work out for me because it worked out for them too. And so you're just looking at the one person instead of zooming out and looking at the whole environment. Be like, okay, yeah, this person took that risk, but like, what about other people? Have other people taken this risk and gotten the same results? It may have been safe for this one person. Check in with your inner authority and know that sometimes you might take action and you might feel a little bit unsure. You might feel a little bit unsafe, and that's okay. It's okay to take action, and it means that you're being really brave in the action that you're taking.
Yeah.
So,
And yeah, and I can just say like I mean, for people listening with undefined centers, my heart goes out to you. Like I know it's gonna be easy, just like someone with an undefined root center. I remember when I first learned human design, I'll be so honest. I was like, glad I don't have those undefined. You know, that sounds really hard. But there, you know, another thing to know too is that everyone does feel fear as we move forward. The difference is that with the defined spleen center, it's just our fear. And with you, you really pick up a lot of that from other people. So it's like you have your own
mhm,
fears too, but you do, you know, source information from how other people are doing, like Ian
yeah.
was saying. And this is part of why, like what she was saying, like people with undefined spleen centers can find someone who really makes them feel safe because that person feels safe in their own right.
Mhm.
And then that's why they say that people with undefined spleen centers are not meant to make these like really impulsive decisions based on like just one situation in the moment, because then that's how
Mhm.
you leave your job or you go skydiving and then you're like metaphorically or literally in the air and you're like, this isn't right. Why did I do that? So yeah, that's a beautiful point, especially with business. And I think that people with undefined spleen centers, any undefined center can do this, but because we're often like searching for this energy, we have our antennas out. But with the undefined spleen center, I do see that a lot of these people, they're like looking for that one thing, right? Like, what
Mhm.
is the one thing that will give me so much certainty? And I mean, I'm realizing now it's like that certainty that I'm gonna live and survive and be safe, which is such an inherent
Yeah.
thing that we look for as humans. It's at the base of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is literally, am I gonna
Yeah.
survive? So
Mhm.
beautifully put.
It
Absolutely.
can also create some codependency though, because if you
Mm-hmm.
are, especially in the coaching world, if you have an undefined splenic center, and I've seen this, you find one coach and they make you feel really safe, they make you feel really secure, and then you start like getting results with them, and then you're like, okay, if I don't hire this coach for the rest of my life, if I stop working with them, I'm not going to feel safe in business. And so they will end up in like really, really long-term coaching relationships, which like of course we can use our environment, we can source from our environment. So if having that coach does make you feel secure, amazing, but know that you are in control of that. You are intentionally choosing to source that sense of security from your environment, which means you are the one creating it for yourself. It is not that person. Yes, you're sourcing it from their energy, but you are in control and you do not need them as a source for that energy. You can create and have that sense of safety without that single person. So it can create some codependency sometimes. And but yeah, just want to remind you that like you can be completely independent and you are choosing to source from all of these different areas.
You are powerful. But then I want to end. So we're not going to, we agreed, Eden and I, that we're not going to talk about the sacral center because, like, doesn't everyone literally talk about the sacral center all the time when it comes to productivity and creating? And it's part of your energy type. But the root center, I think is so cool. We both have defined root centers. And this was cool too because Eden really made me think about this in a different way. This is something I've really been sitting with for the past few weeks since we had our reading. But again, I don't have that defined heart center. So I always, I've always seen myself as an ambitious person, but I really felt like I was like, a lot of that must have been from trying to prove myself. And I'm like, but this is still in me all the time. This push, this like get it kind of thing. And I usually associate that with gate 54, which is the gate of drive, of ambition in the root center. And I don't have that. But I do have, like strong root center energy. And Eden was like, well, no, I mean, the root center, it has that push to expand and grow. And I loved that perspective on the defined root center because you have that too. And you actually said something about like why you're so glad you have the defined root center.
Yes. So you have a very active root center. You've got two full channels and you're only missing one gate from like the root center to the sacral center.
Mm-hmm.
That whole connection. I love that. It's like such powerful energy. So it's where you're sourcing your sense of urgency. Are you sourcing your sense of urgency and your desire to evolve, your desire to grow, and your desire to move forward from inside of your aura or from your environment? And so from your environment, it can sometimes feel like pressure. Like, oh my God, the world says that I have to have this done by this day or by this age. I'm, 30 and I haven't done this yet. I'm behind. It can feel like you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, essentially. You're like, I can't keep up. There's never enough. I have to do more. And it's this like, if I get this done, on the other side of this, there's rest. Like on the other side of this urgency will go away. This pressure, this discomfort will go away. And that's really what you're looking for is you're looking to get away from the discomfort. And so if you have an undefined root center, check the ambition. Like who's pressuring you? Where is the pressure coming from and is it useful? Because if it's not useful, like not everyone gets married by 30, not everyone gets married. Like marriage isn't something that everyone believes in. And so if society says you have to be married by a certain age, that's not true. Like it's not true. You don't have to do anything by a certain age. There's so many successful people who have started specific careers in their 50s and 60s and even beyond. And like that's like you're never too late to start something. You always have time. And there's nothing you can do to make yourself feel different. And so if you're feeling this sense of urgency, there's no guarantee that it's going to go away just by getting the task done. And
Mm.
so with the defined root center, we source our sense of urgency and ambition from inside of us. And so we have a drive to get ahead. We have a drive to change things. We have a drive to move forward. And so for me, it shows up. I have the 1858, and 18 is the energy of dissatisfaction. And so I am constantly dissatisfied. Constantly dissatisfied. I think everything could be perfected, everything could be improved. And I could see it as no matter what I do, it's never good enough for me. My standard is too high. I'm too ambitious. I have unrealistic expectations. I'm always dissatisfied. I'm hard to please. I could label myself with shame on all of those levels, or I can see the intuitive gift that's there. When I feel dissatisfaction, my root center energy is active and it's saying that's about to change. That thing that you're dissatisfied with, that's where the evolution is. And with my defined root center, I love my defined root center because I would so much rather be the person like there's this smug sense of satisfaction in being like yeah no matter what I do it's never good enough. Like I've had 6-figure months and it's not good enough. Like of course I'm still pushing for more. Of course it's never good enough. And like I I like that and I'm able to play with it in a really beautiful way and I'm not and like it's not necessarily like the shadow expression. I've accepted the dissatisfaction. I get dissatisfied. Like right now, my website, I haven't updated it in a year. I said I was going to. All of a sudden, I'm really mad at it. I'm like, I hate this. It looks awful. I'm dissatisfied with absolutely everything. Like now it needs to change. And so the root center is activated, and I'm like, oh, Yay, that's growing. Like my website's growing, it's evolving, it's blooming into something pretty again, and it's going to change, it's going to evolve. Amazing. And so my dissatisfaction and my extremely high standards are one of the reasons why I'm able to continually push myself to improve and continuing to make improvements and change things and tweak things in my business and find what works perfectly. And that allows me to play with the energy of vitality and bliss and with like integrity and perfection because they're rooted in I'm dissatisfied with this. Okay, am I just going to be dissatisfied and be like, oh, the world sucks, I'm always dissatisfied, there's no point in doing anything, I'm just going to feel dissatisfied? Or like, oh, that's changing, cool, we're going to change it now. So, where are you sourcing your urgency and your sense of timing? And one of the things about the undefined root center, especially with like you, when we talk about marketing, is countdown timers. If
Mm,
people are saying like urgent, like it's going away, the sale's ending, buy now, the undefined root center can feel that urgency a lot. And so just come back into your body and your inner authority and don't let the countdown timers pressure you. Like you have time to make decisions. And if you have not made a decision by the time that that countdown timer has gone by, then it wasn't aligned for you. And that's perfectly okay. You don't have to pressure yourself because as soon as you're pressuring yourself, like, oh God, what's the answer? You're in your head. You're not in your authority. And then you'll never find the answer. So, yeah, don't let urgency marketing impact you and just be aware that if you have an undefined root center, that is like a marketing pressure point for you. Is like urgency, you have to do it now if you're ever going to get ahead. Like that can be a pressure point for you.
yeah, I think that's also a really great note for anyone with an undefined spleen or a defined solar plexus center. Like all of you guys need to, I think, take that timing into account. It can be very, very helpful. And then something that I wanted to say about this too with the timing, it's so I completely understand why people with undefined root centers would really feel that like, well, what's the normal timeline? Like, what should I be on according to the pressure of the world and the pressure that the world is creating for me that I feel and I'm amplifying. And then I think on the other hand, for people with defined root centers, and Eden, I don't know if you feel this way, like for me, it's yeah, and until I get that root center push, like it's not gonna happen. And my body knows that. My body knows it's gonna light a fire under me when it's time to go. And you know, with any part of the human design chart, anyone listening, like our bodies and our souls, like they're okay with that. Like naturally we're okay with that. I want to point to a different part of the chart, like the 3 line. Naturally those people don't care about failing. Like they don't. It's just like they know that they're resilient and they're going to get back up. They're like, this is just life, this is a part of it. They are conditioned to fear failure because it looks messy and it looks bad, and what will other people say? My parents told me this isn't good, I can't do that. Just one example. But then
Mm-hmm.
with the root center, I mean, I can feel this guilt where I'm like, it's the push isn't here yet.
Yeah.
Like I just know it's not. And technically I wouldn't care. It's not like I need to do that, right? The
Mm-hmm.
fund root center is like, it'll get done when it gets done. But then we can seem like we're not keeping up with the rhythm of the world when we truly have such a defined and fixed sense
Yeah.
of that like Eden said, we source from inside. Like if it doesn't feel urgent, it is not urgent for us right now, and we
Mm-hmm.
can't make it so. So I think like when it comes to like working on projects and stuff, I don't know if you feel this way too. Well, I mean, you kind of just said you did, but I have channel 360, which I feel very strongly and I talk about all the time. I see the thing and like the innovative thing I want to create, and it comes in this foggy way to me, and I'm like, ooh, that would be so cool. Until I feel that push from my body, I can think my way to believing that I should be working on this right
Mm-hmm.
now and creating it. And why haven't I brought this to the world? Why am I not moving and shaking? Why am I not innovating and paving this path for everyone? But until my gate 60 is like, all right, let's go. It's time to
Yeah.
push through all the limitations. I'm just going to feel like it's not possible and then shit on myself for being like, why am I
Mm-hmm.
not doing this? And but also, why do I feel so doubtful?
Yeah.
So that was, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can't pressure myself to do things like no matter how if my motivation's not there, if the like that sense of urgency isn't there, it doesn't matter how mad I get at myself. Or like how much I say you should be doing this, like it's just not happening. And like a fun example is people have been asking me for information about variables for years, and I haven't felt like I've always been interested in it, but I just haven't. It's felt like it's at the edges of my understanding for a while, and so all of the sudden a couple of months ago. Like I have the name of the program, I have the understanding of it, I'm like mapping it out, and like that's going to be coming in the next couple of months. And so all of a sudden, I'm like, ooh, I'm really excited to talk about this. Like the urgency is here, the pressure is here. Like now is the time, and now I can put energy into this. But like I tried to force myself to create content on variables in the future, in the past, and it did not land well. I was frustrated, and then like some people were confused, and like the way that I explained it was like pretty much very technical, but like it was still a little bit too advanced, and it was a little bit messy, very sixth line in her third line phase. Like you have to do some trial and error, but that root center pressure is finally here. I'm like, okay, now is the time. Now we can go into this phase. And then that'll go away, and I'll go into like a rest phase for a while, and then I'll come back into like a push phase. So I'm like working in seasons in my business, and I know that I'm not going to be like launching all day every day for 365 days a year. I'm going to go through seasons, and like I like a week for a launch.
Hmm.
A little bit here, and then like I can rest and go back and do my own thing. So, yeah, we get to play with our timing.
Mm, okay. This has been, I'm gonna cut us off because like I could talk to Eden for 4 hours straight and still not be done. But Eden, this has been so incredible. And I want to ask you one last question. Actually two last questions, but the first one is very simple. So you have a new offer out, which is very exciting, and it just came out yesterday, right? And people who are listening to you, Eden, and really liking the way that you're talking about this and loving your magical, like fairy godmother energy, which brings so much childlike joy to this, right? I think they will really, really love this offer. So could you tell us a little bit about it?
Of course. I've created a program called The Magic of Human Design. And so over the next 6 months, I'm going to be running this in a group coaching program, and it'll be really fun audios and all of the things. But it's essentially going to magic school, but you're learning human design. But you don't have to actually learn how to read a chart or look at your chart at all. I make you a map of magic and teach you about like not your aura type, but your element. And so, like, if a generator, you're an earth artist, or if you're a manifester, you're a fire sage, or you're a water weaver, if you're a projector, wind whisperers are reflectors, and manifesting generators are metal meisters. So they get to like blend a little bit of that earth and that fire. And so it's very much like almost D&D in real life of like you're going to learn about this character, you're going to learn about their strengths, how to take care of them, how to channel energy, and it's so activating and playful and fun, but it's actually incredibly profound embodiment work. And I feel extremely creative and innovative creating this. I'm so excited to be bringing it to the world because it's really advanced embodiment work, but in such a simple way that gets you completely out of your head and into your body and into your joy and into your play. So if you like play and you're not like a super serious person, you enjoy taking things delightfully and ecstatically instead of seriously, and you want to learn how to like play with magic and you want to feel like you're a witch in real life, this is absolutely the place for you.
I love that. I'm gonna adjust the last question I have for you, but also I want to say, do you like do you like playing The Sims? Have you ever played The Sims?
I haven't.
Oh my God. Well, okay. I have had two 6-2s in my podcast, and I've asked them like, "What's bringing you joy right now?" And both of them were like, "Playing games. I love The Sims." I feel like you would absolutely love The Sims. There's so much fun
I
that you
played
can have with
Animal
it.
Crossing for a little bit. I like to read. That's my hobby.
Got it. Okay, the last question I'm gonna ask you is what's your Hogwarts house? Because that's like on your sales page. You're like, this is your letter from Hogwarts. So what house are you in?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay. I think I probably could answer that question for myself, but
Like with all that mental organization, I'm a Ravenclaw.
oh, amazing. Well, my Ravenclaw fairy godmother, thank you so much for coming on. Truly, this has been so incredible. Thank you for taking the time. I'm sure people learned so much.
Yay, thank you for having me. This was so much fun, and we'll talk soon.
Of course. Well, you rock, and everyone listening, you rock, and I will talk to you next time.